America's sports voice, KMOX.
All right, man, let's get going here.
Here we go. Let's go.
$436-7900, or you can tweet at me at Matt Pauley on air, MattPauley on air. No Cardinals baseball tonight. They are going to wrap up the 9-game homestand with a 3-game series against the Cubs that will begin tomorrow. Cardinals obviously playing some pretty good baseball right now. They have won 8 of their last 10. They have won 3 straight series, although all those series they've won have been against American League opponents. They got to start having some success against National League teams and more specifically against NL Central teams, and they're going to match up against the Cubs and the Reds in their next 2 series. So a big opportunity coming up over the next week or so for the Cardinals if they can continue this solid run. We've got a lot coming up on the program tonight. In about 10 minutes, we're going to be joined by Stan McNeal, senior editor with Cardinals Magazine. We'll talk about the most recent issue of the magazine and also get his thoughts on the way the Cardinals are playing right now. Marcelo Balboa, who is part of the broadcast team with MLS Season Pass and Apple TV, going to join us at about 6:35. We'll talk city soccer with him. And then next hour, Jared Wyllys, who covers baseball in Chicago, will preview the Cardinals Cubs series with him. That's going to be at about 7:20 here on KMOX. So I tend to be a positive person when looking at things. That's just sort of who I am. Not always, but when I see good things happening, I feel like, okay, this might be a legit thing. This might be sustainable. Now, when it comes to the Cardinals winning, going on an 800 pace from here to the end of the season, no, that is not sustainable. They are not going to be winning 8 out of 10 games from here to the end of the year. I get that. But can they play solid baseball? Can what we have seen over the last week and a half, 2 weeks, can this be the sign of some version of things to come? I think I'm not convinced of myself, but I feel like it can be. I've always thought that this team was a lot better than what they were playing. And is this team one of the best teams in the National League? No, probably not. But can they win the NL Central? Absolutely they can. And they're in a perfectly fine position, even at 3 games under 500. They are in a perfectly fine position to do that. But when I've said things like this yesterday and recently, very often I'll get text messages. And you can always text me if you want. 314-436-7900. I get text messages reminding me that the Cardinals went on kind of a run like this last year, around the same time of the year. Last year, the Cardinals got off to a horrible start, and then they had a bit of a bounce back. I think it was like they went 11-3 or something like that, playing some pretty good teams, and then it just didn't happen from there on out, and we know what happened last year. So I think there's some Cardinals fans who are looking back to, in many ways, what we've seen this year, even though what's happening in the games looks different. They're losing when they were losing games. They were losing games in different ways than they lost games last year. But at the end of the game, where you either have a W or an L next to your name, they were on about the same pace as they were on last year. They were a little bit better, but when they were on that losing streak, they were all of a sudden getting very close to kind of matching what they did last year. And now this somewhat revival here, winning 8 of their last 10, it's happening at about the same point of the season that the Cardinals had a bounce back last year. And I remember when the Cardinals had that bounce back last year, I thought, okay, this is they're finally getting to who they are going to be, and they're gonna win this division by multiple games, by maybe double-digit games. That's kind of where I was at, and clearly I was terribly, 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 terribly wrong. So is this different this year than it was last year? I've been thinking about that a lot, and then I hopped on STL today and saw that good friend Benjamin Hockman had actually wrote a column just about this. And the headline is why this mid-May Cardinal surge feels different than the one from 2023. I was very glad that he wrote this because it's something that I've been thinking a lot about in recent days. And as always, would encourage you to go check it out for yourself. I assume it's in the print edition of the Post-Dispatch tomorrow, STL Today right now. And Ben does a great job of going through some of the various things that are different this year compared to last year on why this feels more real. We don't need to get into all those details at this moment, but I was glad he wrote that because it allowed me to kind of think through what I'd been thinking through. And yeah, look, this is one of those things where we archive Sports Open Line every day. You can always go to the Odyssey app. You can go to KMOX.com. You can go to wherever you get your podcast, and you can go back and hear what I had to say. And maybe this is going to be something that turns into a freezing cold take at some point. But I do feel like there is a very, very good possibility that what we are seeing from the Cardinals right now is a lot closer to who they actually are as compared to what they were for the first 6 weeks of the season. If for no other reason, they just couldn't continue to be that bad offensively. There was just no way that they were going to be that bad offensively. Are they a perfect offensive club right now? No, they're not. There's still some situational stuff that you'd like to see them do better. Your two veteran middle of the order, former MVP caliber players, one of whom did win MVP, and Paul Goldschmidt and Nolan Arenado. Those guys are not driving in runs and being damage hitters the way that you really want the middle of the order to be. But you know what? Young guys are stepping up. And that, I've said this before, that's what a healthy organization has. Healthy organizations have young players emerge as leaders of teams. And to see recently what an Ivan Herrera, what a Lars Nootbaar, what a Brendan Donovan what they're able to do. Other young players, Alec Burleson, he might be the guy who's at the top of the list right now. It is a really, really good thing to see some of these young guys taking steps forward and being a big part of the run scoring. Mason Wynn, obviously another guy that you can put in that group as well. So I would agree with what Benjamin Hockman wrote in the Post-Dispatch today. This surge does feel different than the one from last year, but at the same time, only time will tell. Let's get a couple more weeks into the season and see where it goes from there. And oh yeah, by the way, after they play the Cubs, the series coming up, it's an interesting schedule because it goes Cubs, then Cincinnati, then they've got a really tough weekend in Philadelphia. But then after that, Houston hasn't had a great season. They've started to warm up a little bit here recently. Then they go Colorado, Pittsburgh, Chicago, Miami. There's a lot of winnable series between now and the end of June, and even beyond that as well. I mean, you just look at everything between now and the All-Star break. There are a lot of teams that you feel like the Cardinals can, and more importantly, should have some success against. All right, we'll take a break, and when we return, Stan McNeal will join us. You read him in Cardinals Magazine. He's up in just a moment. This is a Graybar Sports Open Line on KMOX.
For everything online, it's Odyssey.com. Download the Odyssey app and listen to KMOX for all the news, sports, talk, and podcasts that move you. Odyssey, that's AUDACY.
We all hear the radio ads about the IRS. They tell you to be afraid, to be scared, and they try to frighten you into calling. I'm not here to do that. Tax Relief Advocates is different. TRA is here to tell you that if you owe money to the IRS, whether it's $5,000, $50,000, or $500,000, we have a solution. It doesn't matter if you're sitting in your car, at work, or with your kids. No matter where you are, call now. 800-575-6481. Don't lose hope. TRA can eliminate or reduce what you owe to the IRS. Generous programs are now available that can give you a fresh start. Our passion is taxes and helping individuals fix their IRS problems. We have over 1,000 5-star reviews on Google and an A+ with the Better Business Bureau. You don't need to be afraid of the IRS any longer. End your tax nightmare today by visiting us online at TRA.com or call 800-575-6481. That's 800-575-6481. Tax Relief Advocates. Real solutions for real people.
You know your customers. Ralph likes his coffee black on Fridays, but Mondays he takes a little cream. Jennifer comes in every 3 years when her lease is up to get the newer and better model. And for some reason, pepperoni pizza sells like crazy on Friday nights. Who knew? At Odyssey, we have the expertise to get your media plan done right. With ads like you're hearing right now, to targeted social media campaigns, search engine optimization, and location-based advertising. Advertise with Odyssey and help us grow your business. Visit ads.odyssey.com.
The choice of a lawyer is an important decision and should not be based solely on advertisements. You entrusted a nursing home with the care of a loved one, but they violated that trust. If your family member has been the victim of nursing home neglect, call Onder Law at 844-BED-SORE.
We all hear the radio ads about the IRS. They tell you to be afraid, to be scared, and they try to frighten you into calling. I'm not here to do that. Tax Relief Advocates is different. TRA is here to tell you that if you owe money to the IRS, whether it's $5,000, $50,000, or $500,000, we have a solution. It doesn't matter if you're sitting in your car, at work, or with your kids. No matter where you are, call now. 800-575-6481. Don't lose hope. TRA can eliminate or reduce what you owe to the IRS. Generous programs are now available that can give you a fresh start. Our passion is taxes and helping individuals fix their IRS problems. We have over 1,000 five-star reviews on Google and an A+ with the Better Business Bureau. You don't need to be afraid of the IRS any longer. End your tax nightmare today by visiting us online at TRA.com or call 800-575-6481. That's 800-575-6481. Tax Relief Advocates. Real solutions for real people.
My friends swim no matter the season, but my moderate to severe plaque psoriasis can sometimes take me out of the moment. Now, thanks to Skyrizi and clear skin, count me in. With Skyrizi, Risankizumab Riza, a prescription-only 150 milligram injection for adults who are candidates for systemic or phototherapy. 3 out of 4 people achieve 90% clear skin at 4 months.
Don't use if allergic to Skyrizi. Serious allergic reactions and an increased risk of infections or a lower ability to fight them may occur. Before treatment, your doctor should check for infection and tuberculosis. Tell your doctor if you have an infection or symptoms such as fever, sweats, chills, muscle aches, or cough, or if you plan to or recently received a vaccine.
Thanks to Skyrizi, there's nothing on my skin, and that means everything. Ask your doctor today about Skyrizi, the #1 dermatologist-prescribed biologic in psoriasis, and visit skyrizi.com or call 1-866-SKYRIZI to learn more.
The KMOX Studios, powered by Onder Law Injury Lawyers, GetJim.com.
That's GetJim.com.
Our Sports Open Line right here on KMOX. My name's Matt Pauley. We take you till 8 o'clock tonight. It is a Cardinals off day tomorrow. They get back at it as they take on the Cubs. 7:15 first pitch tomorrow, meaning our coverage is going to begin at about 6:20. We're going to bring on one of our favorite people to talk to right now. He is the senior writer with Cardinals Magazine. He is Stan McNeal. Stan, always appreciate you taking some time on a Cardinals off day of all days. You're willing to share some time with us, so thank you for that.
Oh, my pleasure, Matt. Always good to be on with you. And, it feels kind of nice coming off a nice hot streak heading into what should be a pretty fun weekend at Busch Stadium.
Yeah, 8 of 10. Weather's warming up. Cubs coming to town. There were some pretty nice crowds over the last homestand. Look, they're still 3 games under 500. They're still only in third place. Five or so games back in first place. These guys they've got some work to do, but it is starting to feel more, I guess, Cardinals-like, for lack of a better term.
It is, and I can't remember exactly when it was, but there was a day game, I don't know if it was on this homestand or the previous homestand, but it was a day game, and there was a couple of fly balls, and they just carried more farther than they had been. And you're like, oh, okay, mm-hmm. The ball's traveling better. The summer's coming, and maybe it was a coincidence, but the offense kind of has seemed to start clicking about that same time.
Wanted to bring you on. We always like talking to you about all the different Cardinals publications that come out, and whether it's here on Sports Open Line or the Cardinals pregame show, we love getting kind of an inside look at what you guys have going on. But issue number 2 for this year's run of Cardinals Magazine really focuses on the life and the legendary career of Whitey Herzog, who recently passed away. And you've got some great stories. A lot of different individuals contributed with their own stories and anecdotes about Whitey. What was it like for you putting this all together? Because I got to think it was just fantastic reliving some of these things.
Yeah, Whitey, I've got to know Whitey, I'd say a little bit, kind of fairly well over the past several years. I didn't cover him when he was managing or anything like that. I wasn't in St. Louis, but I did get to know him, and what a remarkable, amazing man. I mean, I remember interviewing him shortly before his 90th birthday, and his memory and his wits were just as sharp as anyone's. Someone 70 years younger. It was pretty incredible. So to do this, we kind of the magazine kind of took we looked at it a couple of different ways. One is we talked to a bunch of people and actually ran stuff that we went to our archives and pulled out some great interviews and tributes from about his managing days, and how he changed the game with Whitey Ball, and talked to a lot of his players from that era. And then the other part of it, which was what I kind of focused on, was just how vibrant Whitey stayed up until the end of his life, basically. And a part of that, a big part of that, a fun story, was talking to the guys who went with Whitey last July to Cooperstown. His youngest son, Jim Herzog, and a couple of buddies, Mark Pavazza of the Restaurant on the Hill, and his neighbor Dennis Geyer, they took a road trip to Cooperstown. They loaded up in SUV and headed out to Cooperstown for the weekend. And it sounds like it was just a great time for everyone. They played baseball trivia games in the car on the drive. And as they're driving to Cooperstown, Whitey is, he's excited because Rob Manfred, the commissioner, had invited all the Hall of Famers to sit down with him in an informal setting one morning during the weekend to kind of talk about the rule changes. Rob wanted to know what the Hall of Famers thought about the rule changes last year, and just kind of about the state of the game. And this just shows you how fired up Whitey was, because he got in there, and from the people I've talked to, Whitey kind of, if he didn't lead the conversation, he certainly was a big part of it. He talked more than any of the other Hall of Famers, and it's just in pure Whitey. Whitey, as everyone knows, his hearing wasn't the greatest in his later years. So at one point, Manfred was trying to ask another question or get someone else to talk, and Whitey just kept right on going, and the Hall of Famers just loved it. The rest of the weekend, apparently they just came up and thanked him for being there, and thanked him for, kind of giving his 2 cents to the commissioner.
You mentioned how sharp he was, and we would see him do things. He did a podcast with Kyle McClellan that we run on KMOX fairly often. He would do his annual sit down with Frank Cusimano, and it didn't matter how old he got. He was still sharp, and it felt like he was always keeping up with the game of baseball.
And he was, he went to at least 15 games in person last season, and I'm guessing he watched the other 147 on TV. He was watching, and, when he would go to the games, a lot of times they'll put the alumni in a suite where they can kind of mingle with a lot of the other alums and just kind of have a good time, But when Whitey went, Whitey would usually sit in a suite with just a few people because he wanted to pay attention to what was going on in the game. There was a time when I think last season when he was in the suite with Bill DeWitt III, and he comes up to Bill DeWitt III and says, Zach Thompson and Matthew Libator need to learn how to throw a good changeup. And I know just the guy who can do it. Dave LaPointe threw the best changeup of anyone I ever had, So he's telling Bill DeWitt what the players on last year's team needed. I'm not sure. I talked to Matthew Libator about that later, and he never heard from LaPointe, but he did start working on a changeup. So maybe Whitey got to him a little bit there.
LaPointe is one of the guys that's featured in the magazine. He tells a story about when the team wasn't playing real well. One night, Whitey says everybody's got a curfew tonight, but it was kind of a reverse curfew because he didn't want anybody back in their hotel before 4:00 in the morning. He wanted them going out and having a good time one night. And it shows a manager who kind of has a good idea of what a team needs, because sometimes the team needs the exact opposite of that, more often than not, maybe. But that year, that team, and LaPointe says in his story that's in the magazine how he continues to think back on that moment and the leadership that was shown from Whitey.
Yeah, no one could read a room of baseball players better than Whitey. I mean, and Whitey didn't have a whole lot of rules to begin with. I'm not sure what his curfew was before 4 a.m. It probably was about 2 a.m. Whitey just wanted you to play hard and pay attention when you're in the dugout.
What else is in this copy? I know you guys did something with Ryan Helsley, correct?
We've got we do something every issue that we call expanding the zone, where we ask a player a bunch of kind of quick hitting questions. So Ryan, being the National League saves leader or the Major League saves leader, I believe, we went with we talked to Ryan and got some fun answers from him. I'll give you one. For example, if Ryan had not gone into baseball, he was thinking about being a physical therapist, because his mom is a radiologist, and he grew up kind of hearing about X-rays and MRIs and all that, and he's someone who likes to help people. So that's what Ryan would have was thinking about doing if he had not gone into baseball.
Yeah, and I know this from a digital standpoint, you guys are doing the Between Two Birds video series. It's at Cards Magazine on Twitter, and the one that just came out is Miles Michaelis and Lance Lynn.
You can't. You got to go check out Miles Michaelis on that. Miles is writing a column for the magazine for I think this is the second or even the third straight year, and he's just very entertaining. His column in this issue is about fishing. He lives in Jupiter, where the Cardinals train, and he's not kind of let's just say he's a very avid angler. He's not someone who just goes out there for the fun of it. He goes out to catch fish. So it's great to hear him talking about going out with teammates, and he won't go out with just anybody. You have to kind of make the cut to go fishing with Miles. But that's a fun look at that.
The Between Two Birds, it's kind of a play off the Between Two Ferns, the Zach Galifianakis video series that he did. So it's a lot of fun, and Miles is the correct guy for that. I know folks can pick up Cardinals Magazine when they're out of a game. What's the other way to go about getting it? Maybe even getting a subscription to it.
Yeah, the best way is to get a subscription, and to do that, you can go online to cardinals.com/magazine, or you can call 314-345-9000 and ask for publication.
Stan McNeal is a senior writer with Cardinals Magazine, the most recent issue. It came out today, right? Is today the day that it's out?
It will be in the ballpark tomorrow. Okay. Yes, sir.
So it's all printed, ready to go. If you're at the ballpark this weekend for Cardinals Cubs, pick up a copy. Great Whitey Herzog stories throughout. Stan, thanks for taking the time. We always appreciate you.
Oh, my pleasure, Matt. Thank you.
That's Stan McNeal from Cardinals Magazine, senior writer with Cardinals Magazine, joining us. We will take a break, and when we return, we'll talk some City SC soccer, as Marcelo Balboa is going to join us. He's part of the team with Apple TV and MLS Season Pass. That's next. This is a Gray Bar Sports Open Line on KMOX.
St. Louis listens to Hancock and Kelly, Fridays from 8:30 to 11 for the hottest takes on the radio.
I love getting to spend time talking politics and life in St. Louis with my pal John Hancock, one of the most politically misguided people I know.
Well, we may disagree about a few things, but it'll be good radio.
Find out what's happening in the world of politics and everything else with Hancock and Kelly, Friday mornings beginning at 8:30.
No doubt about it.
Only on KMOX.
Amy Mark Scores here, and I can see clearly thanks to the doctors of Ophthalmology Associates, the doctors you should trust with your eyes. Call 314-966-5000 or yourEyeDoc.com.
Kick off your Memorial Day weekend as one of baseball's most historic rivalries returns to Busch Stadium. The Cardinals host the Chicago Cubs for their first 2024 trip to St. Louis, May 24th through the 26th. Tickets for this divisional showdown start at only $15, so don't miss out. Secure your seats today. That's the Cardinals and the Cubs this Memorial Day weekend, starting at just $15. For tickets, visit Cardinals.com.
This is Jojo Romero, St. Louis Cardinals for the Lou.
Michaelis brings it home. Swing and a miss. He struck him out.
Budweiser's First Beer Fridays returns to Busch Stadium, and tickets start at just $20. Catch the Cards and Cubs game on Friday, May 24th, and enjoy your first beer on the house. Your First Beer Friday ticket will be loaded with Cards cash that can be used to purchase a Budweiser, Bud Light, Michelob Ultra, Soda, or any beverage of choice. For full details or to purchase tickets, visit cardinals.com/Friday.
This is Miles Michaelis. Get your tickets now at cardinals.com.
All right, summer's just right around the corner, so it's still not too late at all to be proactive on your air conditioning system. One, to make sure it's ready to go, and two, if you were thinking about replacing your system last year or the year before, still good time, good pricing, 0% on the equipment without the price increase yet that's coming here taking an effect. So if you're like to be proactive, call me. One easy number, Missouri and Illinois. That number is 314-293-2600. Again, very easy, Missouri and Illinois, 314-293-2600, or the website, bartinman.com. Now that is Bart with a B, Inman with an I.com. God bless.
Nobody wants a surprise in their jelly donut. It's toothpaste? That's because the middle is the most important part. At Graybar, we're at the middle of electrical and datacom jobs across the country, connecting installers, facility managers, and business owners with smart solutions for their most challenging projects, which means stocking and delivering crucial products on time and on budget with no surprises, thanks to our nationwide logistics network. Yep, Graybar does that.
We all hear the radio ads about the IRS. They tell you to be afraid, to be scared, and they try to frighten you into calling. I'm not here to do that. Tax Relief Advocates is different. TRA is here to tell you that if you owe money to the IRS, whether it's $5,000, $50,000, or $500,000, we have a solution. It doesn't matter if you're sitting in your car, at work, or with your kids. No matter where you are, call now. 800-575-6481. Don't lose hope. TRA can eliminate or reduce what you owe to the IRS. Generous programs are now available that can give you a fresh start. Our passion is taxes and helping individuals fix their IRS problems. We have over 1,000 5-star reviews on Google and an A+ with the Better Business Bureau. You don't need to be afraid of the IRS any longer. End your tax nightmare today by visiting us online at TRA.com or call 800-575-6481. That's 800-575-6481. Tax Relief Advocates. Real solutions for real people.
You're in hot water, mister.
What'd I do?
I told you months ago our utility bills were getting higher because of that old outdated tank water heater.
Maybe it's time we finally switch to a Navien tankless.
Learn about Navien's high-efficiency tankless water heaters, endless hot water, all while helping you save on your energy costs.
Hey, look at this. Our utility bill is lower since we got the Navien tankless water heater.
Who's in hot water now?
We are, all the time.
Learn more at tanklessmadesimple.com.
Angie's List is now Angie, and we've heard a lot of theories about why.
I thought it was an eco move. Fewer words, less paper.
No, it was so you could say it faster.
No, it's to be more iconic.
Must be a tech thing. But those aren't quite right. It's because now you can compare upfront prices, book a service instantly, and even get your project handled from start to finish.
Sounds easy.
It is, and it makes us so much more than just a list. Get started at Angie.com. That's ANGI, or download the app today.
Dive into all things Cardinals on Cardinals Conversations, your go-to location for exclusive content from KMOX. Catch it on the Odyssey app or your favorite podcast platform. Stay connected with your team. Cardinals Conversations, where the Redbird talk never stops.
The ability to connect big moments. I think we had just as many good moments or big moments as Cincinnati did, and we weren't able to capitalize on our big moments, right? So if you score one of those or defend slightly better on the transition that leads to the penalty, the dominoes start falling, and then eventually it gets to Acosta, and now you're out of luck. Can we try and mitigate further up the field? Can we try and mitigate in the few seconds of transition? But then again, in our big play moments, to make big plays.
That was City SC coach Bradley Carnell talking about his team's performance this past week when they fell to FC Cincinnati by a 3-1 score. They are back at it coming up on Saturday. They are going to host Seattle over at City Park. And right now, we're very happy to be able to go to our guest line. And we welcome on to the program. He's part of the team with MLS Season Pass and Apple TV. He is Marcelo Balboa. You follow him on Twitter at Marcelo Balboa 17. Marcelo, thanks so much for taking some time with us today. How are you?
I am great. Anytime I can chattel soccer, I'm here for you.
Awesome. We certainly appreciate that. What's your evaluation right now of this City team? Because they were in that stretch for a really long time where it was nothing but ties, and then they have that good performance against Chicago and win that one 3-1. But over the last two matches, they have been outscored. 5-1 against a good LAFC team, and then Cincinnati this past weekend. It seems like this team is still trying to gain some traction.
They're definitely trying to gain some traction. The problem is you guys started off like a rocket last year, and I think everybody was expecting to see the similar kind of season. And we knew that, teams were going to play them differently. They lost a few key players. So they're still trying to find their way. They're still trying to find themselves a little bit this year. But, again, still a good team, good organized team. Just have to eliminate the mistakes defensively.
It's such a long season where you can look at it and see where they're at right now and be worried. But obviously, there's still a lot of time for this team to kind of find their way and get back to a closer version of what they were doing last year.
I don't think they'll listen. You can't repeat seasons. We all know that. But when you look at this group, I mean, first of all, they're not that far off. They're in 9th position with 16 points. One win puts you in a playoff spot. In a better playoff spot. So. Listen, it's going to take time. You don't win a championship in the first 10 games of the season. You win a championship and you make the playoffs the last 10 games, or you got to make a run. So this team has plenty to go. There's still a transfer window that's going to open up in the summertime. Who knows what kind of moves they'll make. But, again, this is a team that's good. It's solid. It just has to eliminate mistakes right now.
When you see them and see that they're as close as they are, what is the thing or two that you look at them and say, if they start doing these things, they are going to be back on the right side of winning versus losing?
You know what they say. If you're going to win games, you got to score goals.
Sure.
So I think Klaus needs to get on a little bit of a run here. I know he missed a PK against LAFC, but Klaus is a huge part of, and Adeniran is another big part of the forwards and scoring goals. And those guys start scoring goals. You go up 1-0 against LAFC on the penalty kick that Klaus misses. If he makes that, it's 1-0. That changes momentum. That changes the game. LA has to open up. So a little bit of here, a little bit of there. But I think it's important for the goal scorers, the 2-9, to start scoring goals.
It sounds like there is going to be some activity. So you mentioned the transfer window opening up. It'd been reported that center back Jake Girdwood-Reich from Sydney FC is going to be with the team. Cedric, it's T-shirt, I believe is how you say his last name, a German forward who had 11 goals and 27 appearances last season. It's being reported he's going to join. So it does look like City is attempting to be somewhat active here in the transfer window.
Well, you have to be, you have to have an injection in the middle of the season, making that playoff run after the summertime, after the All-Star game. So it's good. It's good. You have to have rumors out there. You've got to be looking at all the times to make your team better. And like I said, this team isn't far off from doing something special, you could say, in the playoffs. So it's just a matter of getting there, getting people healthy, which is huge. But plus you got to see how the foreign guys get adapted to this league, the travel. So, like I said, the window opening up is going to be a blessing for everybody.
Is this a tough league to adjust to if you've played overseas?
Everybody's different. You know what I mean? You bring in a 21-year-old, it's going to be much tougher for a 21-year-old to adapt than a 30-year-old with a family. You know what I mean? The 30-year-old's got to bring his family over. He's comfortable. The 21-year-old's by himself. He's got to try to find a way to live, find an apartment, find his way around town. Sometimes they don't speak the English. They don't speak the language. So there's a lot of factors that go into it. But every team does a great job of making sure they take care of their foreign players. But, sometimes it takes a little time to adapt to MLS soccer.
Obviously, the fan support for City is incredible. The venue is incredible, but it's also City in the middle of the country. And sometimes when people are coming over from other countries, they're looking for more coastal type cities. Do you view St. Louis and City as a desirable place already for players who are coming over?
I think that everybody has what they want already in mind. You know what I mean? Some guys like the mountains. Some guys like peace and tranquility. Some people like the city. Everybody has a different way of life and what they're used to. And I think it's important to always try to find that, because you have to be comfortable off the field in order to perform on the field. So if I'm not a city guy and you put me in New York City, I could probably struggle a little bit because I'm not adapting to the city well. So I think St. Louis is desirable. It's a beautiful place. It's an affordable place. And every weekend when you show up at that stadium, it's packed full of fans. And that's the most important thing for the player, to feel at home when he's on this field.
How much do you enjoy doing games from here?
Well, except for the first game with the tornado warning, everything's been great there. The food, the ice cream, I'm not going to lie. It's a pleasure to go to St. Louis and do games out of that stadium.
They're going to match up against Seattle coming up this weekend. These are two teams that are right next to each other in the standings. So when we talk about City needing to start gaining some traction and getting wins, this would obviously be a pretty good weekend to do it, because that team is right next to you.
Yeah, when you talk about winning your home games, if you're going to make the playoffs, the home games are the most important games. You've got to win your home games, get a point, 3 points. The important thing is not to lose. And then you can pick up a few points on the road. Next thing you know, you're in the playoffs. So, yeah, you've got to make that place back to the fortress it was last year. You've got to be able to get the 3 points. You got to perform in front of your fans. And that's when people go to the stadium, that's what they expect.
Marcelo Balboa is a former U.S. national team defender, member of the National Soccer Hall of Fame, does the Spanish language side on MLS Season Pass. Can you talk to me? I always love when you guys come on, because we get to promote not just the game broadcast, but everything that's going on MLS Season Pass. If you are a soccer fan, if you're an MLS fan, there's so much to take in really on an everyday basis.
There is. Apple's done a great job. We fly every weekend. We're in a stadium doing a game live. We get to talk to coaches, we get to talk to fans, and get to see these beautiful stadiums that owners have invested in. So it's been a blessing with MLS Season Pass, where people can watch the games anywhere in the world, which is awesome. I got family in Argentina and Uruguay that watch the games over there, so it's been pretty cool.
And I mentioned you do the Spanish language side. That's another real benefit to this, is whether you want to take in the broadcast via English or in Spanish, Apple TV has you taken care of.
They English, Spanish, French. I believe next year is going to be in Portuguese. So they're covering all aspects of it. Great camera work, great angles, and you know what? Like I said before, there's no excuse not to watch, because in any language you can watch it now.
He is Marcelo Balboa. Marcelo, thank you so much for taking some time with us today. We really appreciate it. I hope you enjoy your time in St. Louis, and I'm sure we will talk again soon.
We will definitely enjoy ourselves in St. Louis. We'll see you there.
Awesome. Very good. That's Marcelo Balboa joining us here on the program, and we appreciate him taking just a couple moments with us. One more break. We'll come back. We'll wrap up hour number 1 of the program. It's a Gray Bar Sports Open Line. My name is Matt Pauley. We're back with more in just a moment here on KMOX.
If you're thinking about selling your home, I'm sure there are 2 things that you want: certainty and the most money, right? This is Debbie Monterey, and if you've been listening to me for some time, you know that the agent I trust is Gloria Liu with Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty, St. Louis's real estate expert. Here's why she should be your first call when looking for an agent. Gloria does not make empty promises. She provides written guarantees. What does that mean for you? Certainty. Certainty isn't the only thing you want. You also want the most money. Gloria is able to get her home sellers more money than the average agent because she already has the buyers. This is why Gloria will guarantee to sell your home at your agreed upon price, or she will buy it. To get your guaranteed price, call St. Louis's real estate expert, Gloria Liu, at 314-325-6888. That's 314-325-6888, or visit GloriaHasTheBuyers.com. Conditions apply. Gloria and seller must agree on price and possession date. GloriaHasTheBuyers.com.
I'm Listening reminds you that you are not alone, and that talk saves lives. And now it's even easier to reach out and talk to the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline with 988. 988 is just like 911 for emergency services. When you call or text 988 from any phone, you will be connected directly with trained counselors in over 200 crisis centers nationwide. They can get you the help you need anytime, anywhere. Talk saves lives. And with 988, talking is only 3 digits away.
Sponsored by Compass Health Network. We're here for you.
Retiring soon? Get the information you need by joining Kyle Jones and Matt Allgeier of Fira Capital Management for Your Retirement Highway, Sunday mornings at 9:30. Investment advisory services made available through Pine Ridge Advisors, LLC, registered investment advisors. Securities made available through AE Financial Services, LLC, member FINRA and SIPC.
When you want a brand new kitchen, there's nothing to it. There's a brand new way to do it. 3-Day Kitchen and Bath.
Bill talks about his experience with 3-Day Kitchen and Bath.
We had 2 bathrooms. It was from the 1950s. We didn't know what to expect. We were a little skeptical that they could actually do this in that short a period of time. They did an amazing job. Brand new tub, shower, toilet, sinks, cabinetry, flooring, tile, you name it.
Were you happy with the finished product?
Very impressive, and we're just anxious to show it off to people now.
So you'd recommend 3-Day Kitchen and Bath?
Oh, absolutely. As a matter of fact, we can probably get a few more miles out of our kitchen, but when the time comes to do that, we'll definitely call them back.
It's about time.
3 days or less
at 3-Day Kitchen and Bath.
The choice of a lawyer is an important decision and should not be based solely on advertisements. Past results afford no guarantee of future results. Every case is different and must be judged on its own merits.
At Onder Law, we deliver big judgments for the little guy. We've negotiated over $5 billion in settlements. Onder Law takes on the biggest industries and holds them accountable. We've won millions for victims of truck accidents, drunk driving crashes, and workers' compensation. Call Onder Law, 314 or 618-9-million. That's 314 or 618-9, all zeros.
Do you feel like you're going through life clouded by doubt? Talk to California Psychics. Our trusted and accurate psychics are available 24/7, and we guarantee if it's not life-changing, it's free. Download the app or connect with us at CaliforniaPsychics.com. Right now, new customers get 80% off their first reading. Experience the joy of certainty. California Psychics.
As a roofer, spring means the start of my busy season, which means I've got to get organized. With help from Beacon, I can save time with Beacon Pro Plus and 24/7 access to live pricing, delivery tracking, order history, and more. Plus, this spring, I can earn $1,000 and the chance to win a $25,000 backyard renovation just by buying my Certainty shingles online with Beacon. No purchase necessary. Now that's what I call a spring cleanup. Visit BECN.com for official rules and to start earning entries.
Hi, this is Ken Newbold at Newbold Toyota and Newbold BMW. I am so confident that my team will take care of every one of your service and sales needs. I'll give you my cell phone, 618-791-5470. Newbold Toyota or newboldtoyota.com. You'll be sold on Newbold.
If you're trying to sell a home, there's only one agent in town that I trust, Mark and Neil Gelman of eXp Realty. My friends Mark and Neil have the best system, options, and strategies to connect you to the best qualified buyers, getting your home sold fast and for top dollar. Go to thegelmanteam.com.
There's nothing as intoxicating as the thrill of young love. Set your heart ablaze with Puccini's most famous masterpiece, La Bohème, running June 1st through 30th at Opera Theater of St. Louis. A chance encounter ignites a romance between the seamstress Mimi and the poet Rodolfo. The months that follow will change both of their lives forever. With sweeping orchestrations and sublime voices, this is a night of opera you don't want to miss. Tickets start at just $25. Learn more at experienceopera.org.
Welcome back to the Gray Bar Sports Open Line. Once again, Matt Pauley on KMOX.
Starting to wrap up hour number 1 of the program. In hour number 2, we are going to be joined by Jared Wyllys. That's going to be at about 7:20. We'll preview the Cardinals-Cubs weekend with him. Also, Jen Cease, Nate Gatter are going to be in around 7:45, 7:50 or so. Hopefully, we'll talk with them to preview what's going to be coming up on tonight's edition of the St. Louis City Soccer Report. We don't talk a lot of NBA on this show. We talk a little bit. NBA playoffs are going on right now. I think it's a pretty compelling couple series that are taking place. Mavericks, Timberwolves. Those are both really entertaining teams to watch. And then obviously Celtics right now are the favorites to win the NBA title. They're playing a Pacers team that of the 4, probably the Pacers are the least sexy team. A team that's not still alive is the Cleveland Cavaliers. And the reason I bring them up is because they fired their head coach today in JB Bickerstaff. And I was disappointed that they made that move. I've always kind of been a JB Bickerstaff fan. Bernie Bickerstaff, I believe his father, I got that right. Yeah. So he I believe I got that right. Anyways, if you remember going back to when St. Louis had a minor league basketball team, the St. Louis Swarm back in the day, it was Bernie who was the head coach of that team. Anyways, to fire Bickerstaff when they went through a full rebuild where they won 99 regular season games in the last 2 seasons, and they ended up getting to the Eastern Conference semifinals. I think there's probably going to be a lesson to be learned here. And maybe I'm going to be wrong on this. And again, this isn't so much about the Cavaliers. This is more about just sports in general. And when you take a step back and really look at when you have something that you should stick with. There are clearly times where coaches need to be fired. There are times where the message is worn out. There's times where maybe the coach's effort into the job isn't what it used to be. I am not somebody that believes coaches' jobs and positions should just be a for life position. That there is a certain standard to hold coaches to, and at some point in time, it does feel like you've run the course of a coach's tenure. That being said, when you look at Bickerstaff, and he hadn't been there all that long, and they had accomplished a lot of things, to me, this is clearly an organization that we're not appreciating the things that they had and may end up hurting themselves in the long run. Now, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they bring in another coach and everything's right. Maybe they go draft Bronny James and then LeBron goes back to Cleveland again. I don't think that's going to happen. But the point is, all too often, we as an industry, we in the sports industry, we move on from coaches, we move on from general managers, we move on from people just because we're looking for a change, and the change doesn't really do anything. Sometimes it does. Again, it's a tough thing to really look at and try to discern when you do need to make these tough decisions and when you don't. But I just look at this Cavaliers situation and look at where they were at and where they're going. And you saw a team that when John Beilein was there, it was an absolute disaster. He did a nice job, got them to the Eastern Conference semifinals. It's not like the Cavaliers are one of these teams that is going to be getting to the Eastern Conference finals on an every year basis. Now, there's nothing wrong with having high expectations, if I want to talk out of both sides of my mouth and saying that getting to the semifinals isn't enough. But I think this is just going to be another one of those reminders. I would bet if we look back at this decision 3, 4, 5 years down the line, we're going to say that the Cavaliers probably made a bad decision. And very often when teams are firing their coaches somewhat early on in their tenure, I would guess that you could look back and say, that wasn't a great decision. Okay, when we return, we'll come back after the 7 o'clock news. We'll jump back into Cardinals. Jared Wyllys will join us at 7:20. It's a Gray Bar Sports Open Line on KMOX.
Sorry, but we actually have a wait list for our Monstera.
Shaw's greenhouse is really bringing in the green.
We can't keep snake plants in stock.
She needs a construction manager to build on her roots and grow.
We could add a whole section for ferns. Here we'd have dahlias, dahlias, and more dahlias.
Indeed can help her hire great people fast.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. You can schedule and conduct virtual interviews all from your employer dashboard. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
eBay Motors is here for the ride. Go ahead, feel your engine. Admire that perfectly installed exhaust. Your vehicle's moving along this freeway like it was made from fresh installs and a whole lot of love. With eBay Motors, you get over 122 million parts to keep it running. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, they'll be the perfect fit every time. Plus, at these prices, well, we're burning rubber, not cash. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply.
With our weather extremes here in St. Louis, durable windows aren't a nice to have. They're a must have. Amy Mark scores here. Renewal by Anderson's windows have more than a century of engineering built into them. Their Acclaim windows are strong, energy efficient, low maintenance, and beautiful. And their certified master installers have installed thousands of windows and doors. They're experts at custom installations. Plus, with Renewal by Anderson's easy pay options, you can get your entire project done at an affordable price. Now, through May 31st, during Renewal by Anderson's massive markdown sale, you'll save $279 on every window and $729 on every patio door with 0 0 payments, and 0 interest for 18 months. Call 314-720-9200. 314-720-9200. That's 314-720-9200.
After 5 straight sellout crowds to end last season, Mizzou football is ready to rock again in 2024. Don't miss epic matchups as Auburn, Oklahoma, and Arkansas return to Faurot Field. Lock in your tickets now and join the electric atmosphere with 62,000 of your closest Tiger friends. Call 1-800-CAT-PAWS or visit mutigers.com/tickets to secure yours today. Welcome to the jungle, MIZ.
When is shopping for a car a luxury experience? When you step in the doors of Genesis of St. Charles and their brand new showroom, the first standalone Genesis showroom in the entire state of Missouri. They're proud to show it off. And when you walk through the doors, you'll understand why. And then you'll get behind the wheel of a brand new Genesis sedan or SUV, and you'll understand what all the buzz is about. Stop in today at Genesis of St. Charles, a quarter-mile east of Mid-Rivers Mall Drive off 70, or online at genesisofstcharles.com.
KMOX KECK HD2 St. Louis.
The legendary voice of St. Louis. This is KMOX, always live on the free Odyssey app.
This is CBS News on the Hour, sponsored by O'Reilly Auto Parts.
I'm Monica Ricks. The East Coast is bracing for a busy and potentially dangerous hurricane season.
Experts are predicting the Atlantic hurricane season that officially starts next week could be record-setting. Rick Spinrad is the head of the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration.
The forecast for named storms, hurricanes, and major hurricanes is the highest NOAA has ever issued for the May outlook.
There could be up to 25 named storms. An average season has 14. Jim Crisula, CBS News.
Could be a record travel Memorial Day weekend, too, with up to 3 million people expected to fly. CBS's Chris Van Cleve is in Virginia Beach.
The TSA feels like it has the staffing in place to move about 3 million people through the checkpoints in a day if they need to. And that would, of course, be an all-time record. They may hit that tomorrow.
AAA says another 43 million people are expected to drive, with the worst traffic today and tomorrow. Homeland Security says illegal border crossings are down by 50% from record highs back in December. Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas talked about how they did it in an exclusive interview with CBS News.
Not only strengthening our enforcement, not only attacking the smugglers, but also building lawful pathways that enable people who qualify for relief to reach the United States in a safe, orderly, and legal way.
The news coming after Senate Republicans blocked another border bill today that would have clamped down on the number of migrants allowed to claim asylum at the southern border. The NCAA and 5 major college sports conferences have just agreed to an antitrust settlement worth $2.8 billion over the next 10 years. This essentially sets the stage for a groundbreaking revenue sharing model that could start paying college athletes as soon as fall of 2025. If this is approved by a judge, those payouts would go to thousands of former and current athletes who weren't allowed to earn money from endorsements or sponsorships. Today, the Supreme Court made it harder to prove racial discrimination in electoral maps. CBS's John Dickerson reports the High Court backed South Carolina Republicans who pushed out 30,000 black voters when they redrew a congressional district.
The new map breaks up Charleston County to solidify the once swing district as a Republican stronghold. South Carolina, which has 7 congressional districts, only has 1 majority black district, despite black people making up 25% of the state.
And President Biden is hosting a state dinner right now at the White House for Kenya's president. Biden declared Kenya a non-NATO ally today. This is CBS News.
Think O'Reilly Auto Parts for all your car care needs. Get the parts and service you need fast from the professional parts people at O'Reilly Auto Parts.
Mid-America's most trusted source for news. KMOX.
7:03, it is partly cloudy and 81 degrees downtown Piarch. I'm Maria Kina. Our top story this hour, downtown Alderwoman Kara Spencer says she has made a decision. She will be running for mayor again.
I kind of been tossing this idea around for a little bit. Folks have been reaching out to me and it's been pretty positive.
Spencer says the city's continued population lost 20,000 more moving out since 2020, along with Hearing from constituents about the state of services like streets and trash pickup helped convince her to go for a rematch against now incumbent Mayor Tashara Jones.
The issues are largely the same. I mean, in my view, many of them have gotten worse. I talked a lot about just focusing on the basics of city government, like picking up the trash, filling potholes, investing in our city's infrastructure.
Spencer was in studio with KMOX's Chris and Amy. She will kick off her campaign at an event June 4th at the Post Building on Tucker. Well, more hurdles are ahead for the single terminal makeover at Lambert International.
Zones 1 through 3.
Airport Director Rhonda Homdenberg tells KMOX she expects the city of St. Louis to give approval next month to an amendment to the current lease agreement with the airlines of the airport to open up some funds for the massive overhaul. $650 million will be authorized to finish the design process.
That $650 million includes the design, but also some additional enabling projects, so that when and if we get to the construction point, we're ready to go.
Some of the enabling projects, as she puts it, are moving maintenance facilities, putting in a new central utility plant, and the demolition of the vacant Missouri National Guard building all at the airport. Stuart McMillan, KMOX News.
Governor J.B. Pritzker used a visit to the Metro East today, demonstrating why he thinks Chicago and downstate communities should all remain part of Illinois. Earlier this year, the Madison County Board approved a non-binding referendum asking voters if they think downtown counties or downstate should separate from Chicago and Cook County. Supporters of the idea say progressive politics in Chicago are driving the agenda for the rest of the state. As he helped dedicate a new Madison County Transit headquarters, Pritzker pointed out that the funding that's being sent to Southwest Illinois.
Over $10 million, you heard it. That's 71% of the cost of this new transit hub came from Illinois state government. That likely means that this building wouldn't exist without the taxpayers of the rest of Illinois subsidizing it.
Pritzker cited a university study showing Cook County contributes more in tax dollars to Illinois than it receives back in state funding. Well, if you live in O'Fallon, Missouri, are 65 or older, or legally disabled, you may qualify for the city's utility tax rebate on telephone, cell phones, that's regular landlines, cell phones, gas, and electric taxes paid to the O'Fallon City in 2023. Now, O'Fallon, Missouri staff will help you file those rebates in person at City Hall. The deadline for filing is May 31st. It's 7:06. Dave Murray has a check of the forecast.
There are a couple of spot thunderstorms around, but let's think mainly dry for any evening plans with temperatures hanging around 80 degrees. Clouds will be taking over as we go through the overnight, 66 for the low. On Friday, a bit of a changeable sky, a mix of clouds and sunshine, scattered showers and thunderstorms around anytime on Friday, but the best chance of strong thunderstorms will be during the afternoon. 85 for the high. Friday night, scattered evening storms, windy, mostly cloudy, 62. Saturday, what a day on Saturday. Plenty of sunshine, dry from start to finish, 84 degrees on Sunday. Periods of showers and thunderstorms. Some of those could be strong in the afternoon on Sunday. Warm and humid, 88 degrees on Monday, partly sunny, but nothing more than a spot thunderstorm, and cooler on Monday, 78 degrees. So the best day of the holiday weekend will be Saturday as far as lack of rain. Sunday looks like the wettest day of the weekend, and Monday for Memorial Day, we're in pretty good shape. And again, it will be 78 for the high. So overall, pretty good Memorial Day. I'm meteorologist Dave Murray for the Voice of St. Louis. KMOX.
St. Peter's, 79 degrees. It's 81 in Florissant, and downtown at the Arch, it's 81. I'm Maria Kina, KMOX News.
Welcome back to the Gray Bar Sports Open Line. Once again, Matt Pauley on KMOX.
Back out of here on KMOX as we are into the final hour of this edition of a Gray Bar Sports Open Line. Again, no Cardinals baseball tonight. They're going to get back at tomorrow as they welcome in the Chicago Cubs for a weekend series. We have a little bit of breaking sports news. You actually may have heard it just a few moments ago during the national CBS news. This is one of those stories that somewhat transcends sports, and this is a really big deal. You thought that things had changed in college athletics already. What happened today is going to be another major change for the world of college athletics. Let me read from ESPN.com. The NCAA and its 5 power conferences have agreed to allow schools to directly pay for players for the first time in the 100-plus year history of college sports. The NCAA and its leagues are planning to alert plaintiffs' attorneys on Thursday that they are prepared to move forward with a multi-billion-dollar agreement, billion with a B, multi-billion-dollar agreement to settle 3 pending federal antitrust cases. That's according to ESPN. The NCAA is going to pay out more than $2.7 billion in damages over 10 years to past and current athletes, according to sources. Those sources says the parties have also agreed to a revenue sharing plan, allowing each school to share up to roughly $20 million per year with their student athletes. Goes on, all Division I athletes dating back to 2016 are eligible to receive a share as part of the settlement class. In exchange, athletes cannot sue the NCAA for other potential antitrust violations and drop their complaints in 3 open cases: House versus the NCAA, Hubbard versus the NCAA, Carter versus the NCAA. All right. So let's dig into this a little bit. But this is, there's a lot there. And bluntly, we've got about 6 minutes here, and I don't know if 6 minutes is enough time to go through all this. This had been going on for a while. In fact, we had talked about this on this very show because the NCAA had already agreed for this the $2.7 billion in damages to past and current athletes. And what I thought was notable about that was not only are these rules changing in the NCAA impacting current student athletes, but retroactively, former student athletes are now being said that the way that they were used and did not get any compensation was actually illegal. So former student athletes, again, from 2016 on, are going to be eligible for some money. That's the first thing here. The other thing here is the revenue sharing plan, which allows each school to share up to about $20 million per year with its athletes. Now, 2 things jump out at me. First off, if you thought there was a separation between power conference schools before and power conference and mid-majors, it is going to be so much larger now, because guess what? If you're not in a Power 5 conference, and there's probably even some Power 5 conferences, that schools that are going to have a hard time finding $20 million every year to share with student athletes. That's a lot of money. Look, if you're Alabama, if you're an SEC school, if you're a Big Ten school, if you're Indiana or Iowa or Penn State, that money is going to be there. The $20 million is going to be there. But if you are a smaller Power 5, is it going to be there for Vanderbilt? I don't know. They've got the SEC TV contract, so probably. Is it going to be there for Georgia Tech, an ACC school? Like maybe not. Is it good? Is it going to be there for a TCU? I mean, they're in Texas, probably, but they don't have a huge athletic department. They're not printing money down in Fort Worth. I don't have access to the books, but all of a sudden a $20 million per year expense that wasn't there yesterday and is going to be there tomorrow. That's a significant expense for most college programs. Now, this story only mentions the 5 power conferences that are allowed to directly pay players. Is that going to be a thing? I don't completely understand. I would need to get like a lawyer on or something to go through that. I wish it was a Brad Young night for At Your Service, because I'd bring him in a little bit early. That, to me, I don't get why a Big Ten school can pay their athletes, but a Missouri Valley school can't. I don't get why a SEC school can pay their players, but in Ohio Valley, can't. Right? I don't get that. So it feels like this agreement at the beginning was just something that the 5 power conferences were involved in, and maybe they'll bring the other schools around. But look, Indiana State, Southern Illinois, Missouri State, St. Louis U, I don't think they've got $20 million just sitting around in the athletic department funds to start paying players. I don't think the $20 million is there at schools like that. Here's the other thing on this. And I talked about this for just a split second yesterday when we had Earl Austin Jr. on, because I am pro name, image, likeness. I absolutely think that If a local car dealership wants the star of the basketball team to come down to the car dealership every Saturday and sign autographs, and he pays them to sign autographs because it's going to bring traffic into the car dealership, awesome. If Emos wants to talk to Luther Burden and get him to put some billboards up and he says how much he loves Emo's Pizza, awesome. I've never had a problem with that whatsoever. What name, image, likeness, though, and those things do exist. That absolutely does exist, where companies are essentially using student athletes and their likeness to make money for themselves. I've never had a problem with that. Go get the bag. Go get as much money as you possibly can. What I'm having a hard time going along with is these collectives, and I understand that it's just part of the college sports experience now. But what I'm having a hard time completely being on board with is the collectives where the name, image, likeness deal isn't really a name, image, likeness deal. It's a pay for play deal, but the collectives are a third party group. They're not explicitly attached to the university. So that's how they're able to do it. And the collectives exist everywhere, and they have to exist everywhere. And that's how you compete in college athletics today. So I'm not saying don't do it, because I'm not naive enough to say that I'm not naive enough to believe that you can compete at the highest level without doing those things. You have to. But I'll be honest with you. The idea of colleges and athletic departments just cutting checks for players makes me feel a little bit uncomfortable. And maybe it shouldn't. I've never been anti-players making money. I haven't. I've always thought that the way the system works isn't fair to players, because the universities are making so much money and the players aren't seeing it. But now that we're at the point where it's going to be legal for colleges to just flat out pay players, that makes me feel a little bit icky right now. And I'm having a hard time personally kind of discerning where I am at, because in theory, I am for it. In practice, it makes me a little bit uncomfortable. But this is what just came down today. NCAA 5-power conferences, schools will be allowed to directly pay players for the first time in the 100-year history of college sports. We'll take a break. When we come back, we'll talk baseball with Jared Wyllys. We'll preview the Cardinals-Cubs series. That's up next. This is a Gray Bar Sports Open Line on KMOX.
We go where you go. 11:20 a.m., 98.7 FM, KMOX.com.
Do you have 3 ex-wives and your current trophy wife wants a life insurance policy 3 times the size of the policies you had to purchase for your previous mistakes? If so, you need to call Big Lou at Term Provider, 800-700-6898. Big Lou is intimately familiar with your problems, and if you're 50 or 60 years old and in reasonably good health, a $1 million policy should only cost about $100 to $200 per month. Big Lou may have a solution for your previous policies as well. You may even save enough money to lighten the load on your new $1 million policy. Remember, call Big Lou. He's like you, except he's only on number 2. Call Term Provider at 800-700-6898. That's 800-700-6898 for $1 million in term life insurance that you can live with. Call Big Lou at 800-700-6898. 800-700-6898.
Baseball season is heating up. With the free Odyssey app, you can get the most entertaining local coverage of your team while you're at work or on the go. Stay locked in and in the know with your favorite hosts as they bring you unfiltered takes, react to the latest team news, and talk to callers. Don't miss any of the action. Stream the shows you love live or on demand with the Odyssey app. That's AUDACY. Download it today for free.
The choice of a lawyer is an important decision and should not be based solely on advertisements.
If you've been injured in a car wreck, you need the best. Let us make your case our cause. Car accident? Call Onder Law for a free review at 314 or 618-9 million.
To have a roof over your head, a nice roof over your head,
is very important.
That's Rick talking about his experience with Rhino Shield ceramic coating.
We got Rhino Shield 18 years ago, and they're very cooperative on getting us the right paint. They're in and out and done in no time. Once it was finished, looked great. We were very happy with it.
The main reason Rick called Rhino Shield is because it's backed by a 25-year transferable warranty.
We've watched a lot of people get their house painted 3 or 4 times, and we haven't had to do any of it. I don't know about you guys, but I don't want to have to paint it every 5-7 years.
Take a tip from Rick and put down the paintbrush and call Rhino Shield for your free evaluation. 877-25-RHINO. 877-25-RHINO. Or visit 877-25rhino.com.
We got Rhino Shield 18 years ago. Financially makes sense, especially if it's going to last like this did. Still looks great.
Call now. 877-25-RHINO or 877-25rhino.com.
Don't paint, don't Rhino. Go Rhino Shield. Never paint your house again. Rhino Shield.
I'm Debbie Monterey. Join us for the next Business of Family Business show sponsored by Clayton Capital Partners. Kevin Short and I sit down with the president of McKelvey Homes, Jim Brennan. McKelvey Homes is St. Louis's oldest residential builder dating back to 1898. How did Jim Brennan get involved to lead this third-generation family-owned company into the future? We'll get you all the scoop on the next Business of Family Business show this Saturday at 2 p.m. on KMOX, then on the podcast page at KMOX.com.
As a roofer, spring means the start of my busy season, which means I've got to get organized with help from Beacon. I can save time with Beacon Pro Plus and 24/7 access to live pricing, delivery tracking, order history, and more. Plus, this spring, I can earn $1,000 and the chance to win a $25,000 backyard renovation just by buying my CertainTeed shingles online with Beacon. No purchase necessary. Now that's what I call a spring cleanup. Visit BECN.com for official rules and to start earning entries.
You can host the best backyard barbecue when you find a professional on Angie to make your backyard the best around. Connect with skilled professionals to get all your home projects done well. Inside to outside, repairs to renovations. Get started on the Angie app or visit Angie.com today. You can do this when you Angie that.
At KMOX, our focus is you, your go-to station for local news that matters to St. Louis and the region. The voice of St. Louis, KMOX.
It's a Great Bar Sports Open Line right here on KMOX. My name's Matt Pauley. No Cardinals baseball tonight. They're back at tomorrow, opening up a big weekend series against the Cubs. The Cubs losing earlier today and traveling to St. Louis. Things are tightening up just a bit in the NL Central. Cardinals are 5 games back of the Brewers. Cubs are 2 back. So the Cardinals go into a 3-game series against Chicago, 3 games back of the Cubs. We're happy to go to the guest line right now and bring in somebody who covers the Cubs and baseball in Chicago for CHGO Sports. He is Jared Wyllys. You follow him on Twitter at JWYLLYS. Jared, always appreciate you taking the time with us today. How are you?
I'm doing well, Matt. Good to talk some baseball with you.
Yeah, it's great to be able to talk to you. So this is a new era for Cubs baseball, obviously, with Craig Counsell coming in as the manager from kind of a big picture scenario. What have you noticed? What kind of has anything really changed with him managing this team?
Yeah, I mean, it does kind of feel like here, what are we, a little over 50 games into the season, which, you know, it's kind of the point where you can start to say, we think we're getting a sense for what this team is really like. And I think the consensus here in Chicago is actually a little bit like the Cubs have probably won more games than they really should have. And some of that feels like, is that a Craig Counsell thing where he's finding ways to squeeze out a couple more wins? Because they've, you know, like we saw in this Atlanta series the Cubs have just had, and the series before that against the Pirates, the Cubs are really struggling to score. The offense is just not clicking, but they've survived on their pitching so far. But yeah, I think with Counsell so far, it does feel like, you know, he's doing the right things and making some of the right moves to put them in good position to steal a couple of games when, like I said, maybe they shouldn't have.
Yeah. one of the moves made this past week, pitching has been mostly good, but Kyle Hendricks has really struggled, and they took him out of the rotation. And how, for a guy like him who's been with the Cubs longer than a Craig Counsell, what's the dynamic of that decision being made?
Yeah, that's such a hard one, and it was one that we've been asking Counsell about for a while, because Hendricks clearly struggling worse than we've ever seen in his career, but it's tough with him because of the history he has with the team. He's been there for such a long time. He's the last guy on the roster who was a part of that 2016 World Series team. And everybody remembers him as the guy who, pitched so well in the playoffs that year. I mean, he's beloved. So it's kind of a loaded decision when it comes to making a move like this, but it just got to the point where it had to happen. Something had to be done, because he just could not get through even, giving you like 4 clean innings or decent innings in a start. So finally made the move to the bullpen. He made his first appearance in relief today, gave up a couple of runs. So we'll see as he maybe gets a little more comfortable in that role, because it's something he's never done as a major leaguer. He's never pitched out of the bullpen, so this is all brand new for him. So I'm willing to give him a couple appearances to kind of see how this is going to go. But yeah, if he continues to struggle as a reliever, then you start to have to ask questions about, what do we do with this guy at this stage in his career?
The Cardinals are going to see Shoto Imanaga coming up tomorrow. First time he'll face off against the Cardinals. 5-0, 0.84 ERA. Did anybody see this coming from him?
No, absolutely not. I mean, even here in Chicago, I think most of us, when he was signed back in January, heading into the season, the anticipation was like, we got ourselves a solid middle of the rotation guy. That was, what everybody expected. So to see him as dominant as he has been through 9 starts now is not something anybody expected. But you look at the way that he's doing it, he's been really effective at, like, he covers up and down in the zone, side to side, like he hits every quadrant. And so he's even without a lot of velocity, because his fastball tops out at like 93. He locates so well that nobody's had any luck getting like really high quality contact on him. But eventually, the league's going to make their adjustments, and have to imagine at some point they're going to start to figure him out. But yeah, so far he's been just phenomenal.
Cubs have lost 7 of 10. To be fair, 2 series against the Braves in there, and obviously the Braves are a really, really good baseball team. They also caught the Pirates when the Pirates were playing some of their better baseball, but still they've lost 7 of 10. The Cardinals have won 8 of their 10 coming into this series. How do you kind of break down this series going in, where it looks like it's teams going in different directions?
Yeah, this is where it gets interesting, because you can get deceived by overall records or spots in the standings, because like you've just illustrated, the Cubs are not doing so well over the last couple of weeks. Whereas the Cardinals, I think, just coming off of a sweep in their last series, if I'm right, if I'm remembering correctly.
Yep.
Yeah. So their trajectory is very different. And like I said earlier, you've got a Cubs team that is really struggling to score. So if the Cardinals pitching is even decent, they're in pretty good shape to move even further up the standings, because the Cubs bats are just collectively have been quite cold for a while. Now, in fairness to them, they've faced some tough pitching. They went up against Paul Skeens over the weekend and a couple of the Pirates' better starters. And then, of course, the Atlanta rotation is really tough. Max Fried the other night. But yeah, it's not a lineup that is really looking that great top to bottom.
What team are Cubs fans most worried about in the division? Is it the Brewers because they're in first place? Is it the Cardinals because they're the team with the most kind of positive momentum right now? Is it the Pirates, the Reds for some other reason?
It is really, it still comes down to the Brewers and the Cardinals, because, the Brewers, I think there's still a lot of talent on that team. And I think there's, they made a smart move in putting Pat Murphy in charge. Somebody who knows the team really well, And so even without Counsell there, obviously it's not like they took some giant step backward. They're still a very good baseball team. And the general feeling in Chicago is always like, don't just never rule out the Cardinals. If they're doing badly, you're kind of waiting for things to take a turn, because Cubs fans, even if they don't like to admit it, begrudgingly have to admit that, Cardinal baseball is usually pretty good. So those are the two teams that they keep, you keep the closest eye on, especially like we said, with the way the Cardinals have been playing lately. This is a series that could be pretty big.
I don't know how the Brewers are doing it. I was in Milwaukee for almost 7 years covering that team, and I watched that machine just kind of do its thing, but they keep getting injuries and they keep bringing guys up who I have literally never heard of. And I was around that organization for 6 years. Like I have a pretty good understanding of who's there. And these guys that you've never heard of are coming up now. Admittedly, they've lost 4 of their last 6, but they do just keep winning. And, last year, I didn't think they were going to win the division, and they won the division. So a lot of credit goes to that system that they have in place in Milwaukee.
Yeah, absolutely. After this number of years of the amount of success that they've had, you do kind of have to just say they know what they're doing, and know what they're doing at an organizational level, because like you said, it's, whether it's injuries or things like when they traded Corbin Burns, I thought okay, this team is setting themselves up for a rebuild. And then now here we are getting to Memorial Weekend and they're in first place. So yeah, that's an organization that knows what they're doing and continues to do it well. I will be curious to see, as the season progresses even further, how well they can sustain this, especially as other teams start to get hot, like St. Louis and maybe the Cubs, if their offense starts to click. But yeah, you got to hand it to Milwaukee.
And I know Jed Hoyer's in charge and he's very good at his job. But has Craig been able to bring some level of what they did in Milwaukee, not from an on-field standpoint, but from a developmental standpoint, from a team standpoint, stuff that generally is kind of outside of the bandwidth of a manager? But has he brought any of that to the Cubs?
Yeah, it does seem like there's a couple of things that have stood out initially, and one of those is the quality of the pitching, because that was always something that they did so well in Milwaukee, was developing pitching. And so some of the difference that we've seen, particularly for the Cubs, out of some of their young pitchers, they've had Ben Brown come up and really be impactful early on. Hayden Wesneski is looking pretty good. They've had a lot of success from some of these younger guys. Javier Assad is looking really fantastic. So that's one thing. And I think the other thing too is player development wise, he clearly, he has an eye on the system that I don't know how many managers do. So that's something I asked him about during spring training, actually, was, what his process was for okay, once you guys break camp and, you've got your team at the major league level, how do you kind of keep tabs on what's going on in the minor league system? And he said it's something that he watches closely. He watches games. He goes through box scores. He's got his eye on what's going on in the farm system, which, like I said, I don't know how common that is for a major league manager to do that, because that's got to be tough. So I think we're starting to see just a little bit of the fruits of some of those things.
He is Jared Wyllys, covers Chicago baseball for CHGO Sports. You follow that outlet at CHGO_sports. You follow Jared at JWYLLYS. Jared, it's going to be a fun weekend. It feels like Cardinals Cubs certainly matters this weekend with where the teams are at, and look forward to this weekend, and hopefully we'll be able to catch up with you again down the line.
Sounds good. Should be a great series.
All right, very good. That's Jared Wyllys joining us here on the program, previewing what's coming up this weekend with the Cardinals and the Cubs at Busch Stadium. Tickets are still available, by the way. If it's you're looking for something to do this weekend, it is a holiday weekend. Go check out the Cardinals this weekend and experience Cardinals Cubs. And it's, again, Cardinals are 3 games back of the Cubs right now. It's a 3-game series. Cardinals just got done sweeping through Baltimore. They're playing some pretty good baseball right now. 8-2 in their last 10 games. That is the second best record over their last 10 in the entire National League. Only the Phillies at 9-1 on a 6-game winning streak have a better last 10 record than the Cardinals. And they've been able to knock down some of that deficit just a bit. Again, still under 500. They're 23-26. They've got certainly some work to do. 5 games back in the division, but it does feel like there is some momentum for this club here at the moment. We'll take a break, have more coming up in just a moment. St. Louis City Soccer Report tonight at 8 o'clock with Jen and Nate. We got a lot to get to, though. Before we get to that, it's Graybar Sports Open Line right here on KMOX.
Weekday mornings, start your day with Total Information AM.
I'm Debbie Monterey.
I'm Megan Lynch.
And I'm Tom Ackerman. And the KMOX News Team. Keep you up to date with the latest local and national news, plus the latest market news and what's happening in the world of sports. Traffic information from Roger Brand.
Now, westbound 270 backed up.
Plus, stay up to date with what's happening with the weather, with forecasts every 10 minutes. Total Information AM. Information to start your day on St. Louis's News Radio, KMOX.
I'm Brian Westbrook with Coalition Life. More than 11 years ago, we set out to help women right here in St. Louis. Today, Coalition Life celebrates more than 3,500 clients served and thousands of lives saved since we began this mission with you. Each one is a miracle. Over the years, day in and day out, our team has walked alongside women facing the fear and challenges of an unexpected pregnancy. Through the support of this community, we have given them hope and a path to choose life for the children they carry. Our work at Coalition Life continues, and we need your support more than ever in a post-Roe v. Wade world. Whether you join us as a volunteer, an employee, or a donor, know that you have a special impact to make for these precious children. Visit coalitionlife.com to give your vital support while reducing or completely eliminating your state taxes through Missouri's 70% tax credit. Learn more at coalitionlife.com, coalitionlife.com.
With the new year, it's time to make sure you have the best vision for 2024. That means scheduling your annual eye exam with Ophthalmology Associates. Call 314-966-5000.
The KMOX Studios, powered by Under Law Injury Lawyers, GetJim.com.
That's getjim.com.
If you want jazz music, go to New Orleans. Bagels, New York. And for psychics, think California Psychics. You want the best, you go to the best. At California Psychics, home of free spirits and open minds, we know better than anyone what makes a good psychic. That's why we guarantee if your reading isn't life-changing, it's free. Visit CaliforniaPsychics.com and experience the joy of certainty. California Psychic.
Hey folks, this is Charlie Brennan. Have you noticed loose bricks or missing mortar around your house? On the walls, patios, walkways, porch, or chimneys? If so, this might be a great time to call Morelli Tuck Pointing. What's tuck pointing? It's the removal of old mortar and the replacement of new mortar on a wall or chimney. Sometimes that mortar can become loose, missing, or deeply eroded. We've used the Morelli team to tuck point the Brennan home several times, and in fact, this winter, we noticed the bricks that line the ground near our porch in the backyard had gotten out of line and looked pretty cattywampus. One call, Morelli Tuck Pointing, the job was done. Morelli's the company that's won the Angie's List Super Service Award every year, back to back to back since 2005. Check out their reviews on the Google, Angie's List, and Better Business Bureau websites. The Masonry Specialists, 314-645-1387, MorelliTuckPointing.com.
We all hear the radio ads about the IRS. They tell you to be afraid, to be scared, and they try to frighten you into calling. I'm not here to do that. Tax Relief Advocates is different. TRA is here to tell you that if you owe money to the IRS, whether it's $5,000, $50,000, or $500,000, we have a solution. It doesn't matter if you're sitting in your car, at work, or with your kids. No matter where you are, call now. 800-575-6481. Don't lose hope. TRA can eliminate or reduce what you owe to the IRS. Generous programs are now available that can give you a fresh start. Our passion is taxes and helping individuals fix their IRS problems. We have over 1,000 5-star reviews on Google and an A+ with the Better Business Bureau. You don't need to be afraid of the IRS any longer. End your tax nightmare today by visiting us online at TRA.com or call 800-575-6481. That's 800-575-6481. Tax Relief Advocates, real solutions for real people.
Following the Cards-Cubs game Friday night. It's live at Lowe's. Ricky Horton and Mike Claiborne bring you great baseball talk with special guest former Cardinals pitcher Kevin Sechrist. It's live at Lowe's on your home of the Cardinals, KMOX.
It's Grid Bar Sports Overline right here on KMOX. Have you for another 20 minutes or so. St. Louis City Soccer Report will be up after me. Jen and Nate, hopefully we'll chat with them for a little bit in our next segment. Baseball Commissioner Rob Manfred spoke with the media today. An owners meeting was taking place in New York, and he went through a number of different topics and some maybe some innovations and other things going on in the game of baseball. A lot of people want to see robot umpires, the automated strike zone, come to Major League Baseball. And it's being used right now at AAA. And at AAA, you have 6-game series. So essentially you play a week against a team and then you have Monday off. And then you play Tuesday through Sunday against a team and have Monday off. So you see a team a lot. It's good. It saves you money in travel. Scouts love it, by the way. Scouts absolutely love the 6-game series because they're able to go to one city and they can basically see every starting pitcher that a team has. Scouts have been asking for longer series a long time. And once Major League Baseball really took over minor league baseball, that's where we started seeing the longer series. So the way it works in AAA is the robot alone calls balls and strikes for the first 3 games of the 6-game series. And then there is the challenge system for the final 3. You don't want to have umpires at AAA never calling balls and strikes because these guys get called up to the big leagues. You don't want an umpire walking into the big leagues having not called a ball or a strike since last year or something. So you still have to have that human element at AAA. And what Rob Manfred said is that the growing consensus from players is that what's going to be used when the automated strike zone comes to Major League Baseball is the challenge system. That's not going to be a robot calling balls and strikes. That's going to be the opportunity to challenge a ball or a strike a certain amount of times per game. That is something that has been received well. I know for people who are down in Florida during the spring breakout, they used that. Those were those prospects games that took place this past year. And that got a lot of major league eyes on the minor league game, essentially. And seeing that for the first time, a lot of people liked it. When is it going to get here is the question, not 2025. You're not going to see it next year. Manfred said, quote, "We still have some technical issues. We haven't made as much progress in the minor leagues this year as we sort of hoped at this point. I think it's becoming more and more likely that this will not be a go for 2025. So there you go. No automated strike zone next year in all likelihood. And I've kind of heard those same things that the automatic strike zone isn't quite right. And it feels like that's something they should be able to get right. It seems like there should be, with as many computers and cameras and stop motion and everything, it feels like a batter should be able to walk up to the plate, that their dimension should be able to be measured, and you should be able to go in there and know what's a strike and what's not a strike, but they do not have it at this point. It's going to come at some point in time, but right now it's looking more like 2026 than anything else, which it's kind of a bomb. I'd like it. When Lars Nootbaar gets struck out on 3 straight pitches that are clearly outside of the zone, it would be nice to be able to challenge that and challenge it sooner than later. And I think that's bad for baseball, by the way. It is bad for the game, and human error is a part of it. Like, I don't hold umpires to be perfect. They are going to make mistakes. I understand that. I accept it. A lot of times when they make mistakes, on bang plays, you get it. If I was in that spot, I'd get it right half the time or get it wrong half the time. I understand where they're at. But when you see these egregious calls being made over and over and over again, and more often than not, it comes with the strike zone, I feel like they got to get this challenge system at the very least in sooner than later. couple other things that Rob Manfred said. They met with Nike because obviously the uniforms have been an issue. Nike has already announced that next year uniforms will have larger lettering on the back, that they are going to go back to some things that had been done previously. So Manfred said that Nike has taken responsibility for the issues and that they are working to fix them. So again, everybody from baseball is saying it's a Nike issue. It's not a Fanatics issue. I know everybody likes to beat up on Fanatics because they don't exactly have the best track record when it comes to some things that they do in their business, but everybody is saying that this is a Nike thing, not a Fanatics thing. Manfred announced that Houston, Miami, San Juan, and Tokyo are going to be sites for the 2026 World Baseball Classic, and the final is going to be in Miami for a second year in a row. They are trying to develop a tackier baseball. They have been working with Dow Chemical. They've been working with a chemical company to try to get the baseball tackier. Well, Rob Manfred said Dow has cried uncle. They have spent a ton of money and worked with us. They were great partners, had a lot of good ideas, and we were just not able to come up with a ball that was playable. So now who are they working with? They're working with Rawlings. They're working with baseball people. So they're not working with Dow Chemical anymore. They're going back to Rawlings to work on this, which is probably who they should have been working with at first. You did talk a little bit about some of the stats this year. Strikeout rate is down. Last year, it was 8.61 per team per game. This year, it's at 8.38. So it's gone down a third of a strikeout per game. That's kind of good. The 240 big league batting average, that's down from last year, which was 248. It's on track to be the lowest since 968. That's 1968. That's not good, but it's also early. As it gets warmer, we generally see those numbers continue to go up. So that is that's basically what Rob Manfred had to say today. Again, meeting with the media as some owners meetings did take place. Got into some other things like the draft and the regional television stuff. The Bally folks, the Diamond Sports people, they have another hearing when it comes to their bankruptcy. That's going to be in July. It was initially scheduled for June. It's been pushed back to July. The Bally people will tell you that they've got a plan. Major League Baseball, along with the NBA and the NHL, will tell you they don't have a plan, that their plan isn't going to work, and that they want to take everything in-house. So we've got a long way to go, and it feels like there's it's been a somewhat adversarial relationship between baseball and Diamond Sports Groups, who runs Bally, and Amazon is involved in all of this. There's just a lot of moving pieces. It seems like baseball really wants to get to a point where they can just universally take their television rights in-house and do a lot of streaming, work out their own over-the-air TV deals or cable TV deals, but just do everything in-house. And if the bankruptcy proceeding and the way Diamond wants to come out of it is accepted by the courts, then that would further delay when Major League Baseball could potentially do that. And I think that's part of why baseball is trying to tell the courts that they're not comfortable with the solution that Diamond has. Just recently, Comcast dropped all the Bally sports networks, so that makes those networks less valuable. If you are on less cable systems, you are inherently less valuable. So the regional sports networks are worth X amount of dollars when they have a deal with Comcast. They're worth X minus amount of dollars when they don't have a deal with Comcast. So it's a very, very complicated situation here at the moment. One more break. We'll come back and we are going to visit with Jen and Nate. They've got the St. Louis City Soccer Report coming up this evening. They're up in just a moment, and then their show begins tonight after the 8 o'clock news. This is the Gray Bar Sports Open Line on KMOX.
If you're drowning in IRS debt and can't afford to pay, then you need to take advantage of special IRS tax programs that are available and free yourself from IRS collection efforts once and for all. Due to the financial hardship consumers are facing throughout the country, the Internal Revenue Service has made it easier to settle delinquent tax problems. An open phone line has been established by Community Tax for consumers to call and see if they qualify. Take down this number or store it in your cell phone, but call the Community Tax Helpline at 800-254-4574. 800-254-4574. If you owe back taxes to the IRS and cannot afford to pay them back, or even if you have years of unfiled tax returns, there's no need to fear anymore. But you have to call the Community Tax Helpline today at 800-254-4574 for the help that you need. Don't take on the IRS alone. They can attack your wages, savings, pension, home, and even your Social Security check. Call 800-254-4574 for your free consultation and to see if you qualify. That's 800-254-4574.
What do Donna Vogt, Janet Williams, Susan Honor, and Jonathan Hurst have in common? They're just some of the best fans in baseball and winners of a pair of tickets to an upcoming game at $100 to Rawlings. Want to get in on the winning? To get entered, head to KMOX.com/contest and upload a photo of you decked out in your game day attire. The best fans in baseball, presented by KMOX and Rawlings, the mark of a pro.
Retiring soon? Get the information you need by joining Kyle Jones and Matt Allgeier of Fire Capital Management for your retirement highway, Sunday mornings at 9:30. Investment advisory services made available through Pine Ridge Advisors, LLC, registered investment advisors. Securities made available through AE Financial Services, LLC, member FINRA and SIPC.
Sorry, but we actually have a wait list for our Monstera.
Shaw's greenhouse is really bringing in the green.
We can't keep snake plants in stock.
She needs a construction manager to build on her roots and grow.
We could add a whole section for ferns. Here we'd have dahlias, dahlias, and more dahlias.
Indeed can help her hire great people fast.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. You can schedule and conduct virtual interviews all from your employer dashboard. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
eBay Motors is here for the ride. Go ahead, feel your engine. Admire that perfectly installed exhaust. Your vehicle's moving along this freeway like it was made from fresh installs and a whole lot of love. With eBay Motors, you get over 122 million parts to keep it running. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, they'll be the perfect fit every time. Plus, at these prices, well, we're burning rubber, not cash. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply.
From American legend Philip Glass comes a rarely seen opera about the life of one of history's most famous scientists. Galileo Galilei takes the stage at Opera Theater of St. Louis, playing June 15th through June 29th. Galileo was a man of deep faith, but when his scientific theories contradicted church doctrine, he faced the impossible choice of recanting his beliefs or losing everything he loved. Learn more and buy tickets at experienceopera.org.
Set your alarm. Memorial Day doorbusters are here at Lowe's. Save big on a Master Forge 3-burner gas grill for just $99. Plus, save over $500 on a Whirlpool top-load laundry pair, now only $896. Beat the rush for these limited-time deals before they're gone. Because Lowe's knows summer savings. Valid through 5/27. Appliance offer valid on items 782472 and 670009. Price includes all discounts while supplies last.
Prescriptions require an online consultation with a healthcare provider who will determine if appropriate. Restrictions apply. See website for details and important safety information. Subscription required. Price varies based on product and subscription plan.
Hey guys, did you know there's a generic form of Viagra that works just the same, but is 95% cheaper? And you can get it online? Go to hims.com/joy. Through Hims, you'll get a free medical consultation, discreet shipping if prescribed, and the process is 100% online. To start your free online visit, go to hims.com/joy. That's HIMS.com/JOY.
The choice of a lawyer is an important decision and should not be based solely on advertisements.
If you've been hurt on the job, you need the best. Onder Law. Hurt on the job? Call Onder Law today for a free review at 314 or 618-90000.
When our truck stops in front of your home,
you'll know it's there.
Because you'll feel magic in the air.
You'll see the magic with your eyes.
When that junk disappears,
and you'll feel the fresh air freedom
throughout your body.
When that dull junk is gone, all your cool stuff will sparkle.
You'll smile.
You'll dance.
You'll call your friends.
Because you'll want them to see it and feel it too.
When you're ready to unleash the delight,
call 1-800-GOT-JUNK
or visit 1-800-GOT-JUNK.com.
It's Tom Ackerman for Ophthalmology Associates, the doctor's doctors, 314-966-5000 or online at youridoc.com.
Welcome back to the Gray Bar Sports Open Line. Once again, Matt Pauley on KMOX.
Back at it here on KMOX. It is a Gray Bar Sports Open Line. Just a few minutes left in this show, and then up after me, It is the St. Louis City Soccer Report. Jen Cease, Nate Gatter, they are in the house. They are going to have it this evening. How are you guys doing this evening?
Good. How are you?
Good. Good to see you, Nate.
We're always doing well.
You missed last week.
Nate, who is back?
I was
Nate,
in
who?
I was in St. Martin, so I don't feel bad at all.
He doesn't. He's not remotely sorry.
So I'm sure you guys will get into this, but I see that a couple with the transfer window opening up, a couple players appear to be headed to City. How big of a deal is this?
I think it's a pretty big deal, mainly because the MLS salary reports were released in the last week and a half, and MLS actually has done a really good job with their transparency. They release players, and they're doing a better job of releasing sort of the overall team numbers and where everybody is, because MLS has all these convoluted roster rules with DPs and U22s and GAM and TAM and everything. So it's important to be transparent about that and help the average fan be able to follow, because it's really hard. And what we found out is that St. Louis City have actually gone down from 28th out of 29 in total roster spend to 29th out of 29. And I think some people were starting to come around to the criticism that I levied at the end of last year, which was that they were charging a little bit too much. They have some of the most expensive season tickets in the league to then turn around and not spend very much money. Now, they spent a lot of money on the stadium, which was privately funded. The expansion fee was expensive. All of that is true. What I'm getting at is I think this is a big summer, because they have, what we've seen so far this year is a little bit more the second half of last year than the first half. And they didn't get the benefit of the really hot start. So I think we're starting to see a team that is fine, but not necessarily even a surefire playoff team, let alone a title contender the way we hoped they were last year. But what City do have is, in theory, some money to spend, and certainly a lot of roster flexibility. They could even buy down Leuven and Berkey using targeted allocation money and have all 3 DP spots available if they really wanted to. I don't expect them to do that, but they have a lot. They have U22 slots. They have a lot of availability right now and flexibility in their roster. And what I anticipate is that they're going to make some noise, and we've seen that now with potentially the addition of Cedric Tuchart from the Bundesliga. That looks all but done. I mean, I don't want to get too Gen Z on you, but he posted a picture of downtown St. Louis on his Instagram
and then
story.
it went away.
So I think it's probably
so
just about done.
How do you say his last name? Tuchart?
Tuchart. That's what I'm going with.
Okay.
I don't follow the 2 Bundesliga as it is that closely, but that's what I'm going with.
There's also the Jake Girdwood Reich.
Yeah. So that is brand new. That was just reported today.
So Berkey said Royce today. If that's helpful, I'm assuming Berkey knows how to,
that's
said
Marco
Royce.
Royce. That's a different link, and I don't expect that to actually
because
happen.
He hates St. Louis, right?
Yes, I don't expect Marco Royce to actually happen for a variety of reasons. Also, because he would cost about as much as the rest of the team put together. That is probably a bit ambitious. It's possible. I don't see it as likely at this point. But supposedly he doesn't like Charlotte either. So we'll see. The stereotype is it's going to be New York or LA or I guess Miami, but they couldn't fit him in. So it'd probably be New York or LA or some other coastal market. St. Louis is a possibility. I don't think it's a likelihood, but we have the 2-card edition. I think is just about done and dusted. And then this youngster from Australia, who supposedly they're paying a pretty penny for. The reporting has been it's going to be an outbound Australian, a record for the Australian club he's coming from, which would be 1.1, 1.3 million, somewhere in that range in US dollars, which is a pretty significant expenditure for a guy who a year ago wasn't even really established top flight professional, but he's had a really big year. And that's how it can go, especially nowadays in the global soccer market. Everybody wants these young players who still have growth potential because you can get them for a reasonable fee. You can get 2 or 3 good years out of them, and then you can, in theory, sell them for a profit. And that's what everybody really wants to chase, to have good production and good business at the same time.
What do you guys have coming up on the show tonight?
So we'll start with Dale Schilly, as we always do. We will also have Carter Chapley, who has been written in St. Louis, and then for FCC Cincinnati. Yeah, and we'll do Laws of the Game with George Gansner. And then on the other side of the hour, the second hour, we'll hear from Jose Kojima, as well as Mr. Soccer, Bill McDermott.
Okay, so we only have like 30 seconds left. What is I've seen the bat signal with George's face on it.
Oh, jeez. I'm not calling him Gans, man.
Okay,
ball watching.
I haven't
not
seen
doing
this.
It.
When did this happen?
Is it a positive thing or a negative? Does he like it?
Of course he likes it. He loves it, just like he loves his own music.
I almost retweeted it the other day because I thought it was funny, but then I'm like, what if this is like a shot at George?
Oh, no. This is like calling Batman, help us.
Okay.
Referees don't get love
and
like
it's
this
gross.
when they're refereeing.
Gross.
So George is learning what it's like to be not a referee.
Gross. St. Louis City Soccer Report. It is on the way next right here on KMOX.
When you have Rhino Shield on your house, it does a couple of things for you. It beautifies the house and it protects it from the harshest elements. And boy, do we see those here in the greater St. Louis area. You get instant curb appeal. It will stick to anything. Rhino Shield is the answer, no matter whether you're painting a home or a church or a business or a condo, because it's 100% waterproof. It takes care of the outdoor maintenance on whatever is on the outside of your home.